What is up, my friends? You are very welcome along to Monday evening's Anfield Agenda News Roundup. Over the course of this video, I'm going to be giving you the latest on Liverpool's summer rebuild, and yes, it is looking like a rebuild. At least that's the phraseology being used by some of the journalists and people in the media. Today, we're mainly going to be focusing on the attack, but we will be mentioning Virgil van Dijk and perhaps a little glimmer of light there at the end of the tunnel. We'll bring you that in a few moments. We'll also be giving you some news from Jamie Carragher, who quite simply slammed Liverpool's forward line. And I'm going to be asking, Jamie, where was that energy when many of us were calling on FSG to make signings, but you told us all that we should be happy because they're great owners? That and lots more to come, my friends, over the next few minutes. We do want to know your thoughts, of course, so let us know in the comment section after you've watched the video. If you want to join us live and get your thoughts in, we will be live tonight at 8:45. And just a quick reminder as well, from Wednesday through to the following Wednesday, there'll be no content on the channel. I'm away for a week's vacation with the family, so just to make sure none of you guys are worried or anything like that, from Wednesday onwards, there'll be no content for a week. Until then, though, let's get stuck into the news. Lewis Steele put up a very interesting stat. On a side note, he said Arne Slot has lost 2 matches in a row for the very first time in his managerial career. That is astonishing, to be honest with you, and hopefully it's not something that we have to get too used to, because it's been a very tough week. There's no denying that. To go out to PSG in the Champions League on Tuesday and to follow that up with a really underwhelming display against the Newcastle on Sunday in a game that Newcastle certainly deserved to win was a very difficult week for us Liverpool fans, and once again it feels like a bare minimum season. Now don't get me wrong, a league title is worth celebrating and a league title will be celebrated, but it always does feel a little bit anticlimactical when one week like that can basically decide the guts of your season. Feels a little bit deflating, but we've got to take it on the chin and move on. Now, Paul Joyce said an overhaul of the attack was already looming this summer before this setback, but exactly how extensive that will be remains to be seen. The midfield might need strengthening too. Where was all this energy when myself and many other Liverpool fans were calling on journalists to push the owners, to push Hughes and Edwards, to ask for the signings that we already all knew we needed? But now all of a sudden it takes us losing a final and going out to PSG for the journalists to finally start to acknowledge what the rest of the world seen, that Liverpool were short in certain areas. So let's see what happens this summer. Let's see if we do get the rebuild. But is it going to be a rebuild without Mo, Virgil and Trent? Or is it going to be a rebuild with some of them? We'll find that out soon enough. Liverpool have already made contact with people close to Alexander Isak, according to Fabrizio Romano. And look, I've got to be honest with you. I struggle to see a world where Liverpool pay the money to get Isak out of Newcastle, especially if Newcastle get Champions League football. I'd be very happy if we did, just as happy as I'd be if we signed Julian Alvarez and a few other attackers. But let's see what happens. Touching base with a player means nothing. Making an offer and getting him over the line, that's what we're waiting for. We're going to talk about Martin Zubimendi as well, and while I'm talking about him, sure, I might as well give you the news that it looks like, according to David Ornstein, Arsenal are close to getting that one all tied up, and they expect him to be an Arsenal player in the summer. So that's another one in the midfield that we didn't convince, but somehow Arsenal managed to. Now we'll move on to Fabrizio Romano's thoughts on positions we should be keeping an eye on. So left back, Fabrizio said Liverpool love Milos Kerkez. No surprise there, but again, it's about getting the player over the line. It looks like about 40 million upwards for his signature. I think it'll end up being closer to the 50, but let's see if we can get it done. At centre-back, he said, expect Liverpool to bring in a new centre-back. Well, I hope it's a new centre-back on top of Virgil staying, and I'll move on to speak about that in a moment because, well, there might be just a little glimmer of light in the Virgil situation. Then he said we need a central midfielder. Let's see what happens there. No surprise to me. We needed this midfielder all the way through the season. Many of us have been proven right yet again that Liverpool have been left short in an area, and the exhaustion of Gravenberch, Szoboszlai and McAllister points to the fact that, surprise, surprise, we needed that extra body in midfield. And then up top, he said, expect Darwin Núñez to leave the club this summer window. I'd go a little bit further than that, because right now it looks like there are serious questions over him, Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota's future at the club. Fabrizio Romano goes on to say there's a concrete possibility that Diaz will leave Liverpool in the summer. Just to remind everybody that Liverpool were willing to sell Diaz last summer, there was a deal that maybe would have seen him go to Manchester City and Julian Alvarez come to Liverpool, but there was a £15 million difference in the valuation that we had for Lucho and Man City had. So let's see what happens here with him. There's talk of a move to Saudi Arabia. There's 2 or 3 Saudi clubs who are interested in him. I don't know if that appeals to Luis Diaz and his family. And also, of course, Barcelona will be there or thereabouts showing interest in his signature as well. So, Virgil van Dijk speaking about his future. Now, I may be reading too much into this, but I'm taking this as a positive. He said, before the end of the season, there's going to be news. As long as I'm fully committed and have my full focus on the task ahead and I love the club, that's the main thing. That's who I am. So once again, we've seen from our captain, he wants to be here. And I think you can make an argument for Mohamed Salah. You can make an argument that maybe Father Time's catching up with him. I don't agree, but you could make that argument if you're the owners of the club. You can't do that with Virgil because he's not shown any signs. Nor is Mo really, to be honest, but I'm just thinking out loud here. So if Virgil stays, that will be a bare minimum for me, and I think the fan base may understand that. But if all 3 were to go, as I've said many times, I don't think and I don't see a way that you can sell that to the fan base. But let me know your thoughts on it. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying I want Mo to go. I want Mo to get a new contract as well. I'm just trying to figure out what the club are doing here. So, Saudi clubs have interest in Luis Diaz and have him on their shortlist after some initial approaches in January. That's again from Fabrizio Romano. And now we move on to Jamie Carragher. The hypocrite in chief, in my eyes. Look, I loved CARRA as a player. Idolised him. But as a pundit, he goes whatever way the wind blows. So right now, Jamie Carragher slams Liverpool's attack. I feel sorry for Mohamed Salah. He doesn't get the help from other attackers. The other attackers are good, but not great. They, FSG, need to go to buy 2 attackers to play alongside Salah. Where was this energy, Jamie, when you were telling the rest of us to be happy with FSG, that they're great owners? Where was the energy when we were calling for attackers and midfielders? And by we, I mean the fans, not this channel. Where was that energy then? Nowhere to be seen. But as soon as we lose a final, all of a sudden the revisionism kicks in. It's tiring when these guys constantly go to bat for owners that have been substandard, to say the least, in the transfer market. Now it's about time that they all start doing their job and speaking up on behalf of the fans. It's one thing jumping on the cop to pretend like, oh, look at me, I'm a normal fan. But how about doing what normal fans want you to do, CARRA, which is using your platform to call out the owners for a lack of investment over and over and over again. It's heartbreaking for everyone to lose a cup final, but it's even more heartbreaking when you can see the same mistakes happening season after season at the same time of the year. That needs to be called out, and hopefully we finally get the wheels in motion where people start to call out the owners and put the pressure on for a big summer. That's it from me for now, folks. I'll see you at 8:45 tonight. Appreciate your support as always. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and we'll see you at 8:45. Much love. Bye bye.